Hello everyone, my name is the Kingofclubs and welcome back to another episode of Royal Recap. In this episode we're going to be covering the TLC pay-per-view for 2015. I realize this is a little bit delayed for video. Meant to have this one out by Tuesday, but it's now Wednesday while I'm just not recording it. So I apologize for that, but let's go ahead and just dive on in here. We got a lot to talk about. Let's start off with the pre-show match. I was really excited about this pre-show, not so much for all the talking and all the review stuff that happened, but more so for the match that was on the card. On this month's pre-show, they had Becky Lynch against Sasha Banks in a one-on-one match, which I was really glad to see because you got two of the most underrated women's wrestlers on the roster competing on a pay-per-view, which is great because that gives them two spots for women's matches. Now with this match, I really liked it. I gave it a B plus as far as my grade on the match. It's just really great to see that they have two women's matches now that feature actual women's wrestlers, not divas, not this Barbie doll nonsense. So yeah, that was a good one. The little segment before the match with Team Bad doing their version of a Christmas Carol, that was pretty entertaining. Sasha ended up winning the match. It was just really well done, so I was really pleased with the opening match for this pay-per-view. Let's go on to the main show now. On the main show, we start off with the tag title match, which was the New Day against the Usos and the Lucha Dragons for a triple threat ladder match for the tag titles. This was a very entertaining match as well. Again, you had the New Day coming out entertaining the crowd before the match even started. I was happy to see this one. This is actually a very entertaining match. With the TLC pay-per-view, it's been called the Demolition Derby of the pro wrestling world, or WWE's Demolition Derby. That's because that's pretty much what it is. You've got literally tables, ladders, and chairs all over the arena, and most, if not all of them, get used in some way or another. It's a pretty rough pay-per-view. It's the one that I liked watching because of the excitement factor, but at the same time I dread watching because you know that when people sign up for this pay-per-view, they are willingly signing up to put themselves at a greater risk of injury. As we've seen with Seth Rollins and with other wrestlers, you can get hurt on just a regular night at even a house show just doing a regular match. So when you willingly go into a match that has these objects that has a greater risk of you getting hurt, you're taking a lot bigger risk. This match here, the triple threat ladder match, that was really entertaining. I was glad to see it. Xavier Woods was on commentary for most of the match, which was fun. He is a great person to listen to. He is such a fun-loving guy. So listening to him on commentary and watching him with the rest of the New Day, it's always a great thing to see because of how entertaining they are. But New Day ended up winning the match. During the match, Kalisto, I think is his name, he did his finishing move, the Salida del Sol, which is this kind of like this backflip, almost like a version of sliced bread, just a standing version of sliced bread that he does, and it's very unique. He did it off the top of the ladder through a ladder, which is really cool. Also kind of cringeworthy because again, this reminds you that you're taking a bigger risk getting hurt. And with I think Jey Uso, either Jimmy or Jay, one of the Usos, I think it was Jay, maybe it was Jimmy, I don't know. One of them just got back from injury, so I'm sitting here dreading, what happens if one of these guys, retweaking that injury or getting hurt. So it was a really good match. Give it a B plus, almost give it an A minus because it was one of the more entertaining matches of the night. Looking back over the whole night. Let's see. Let's go on now to the next match on the card is Ryback versus Rusev. Now, I didn't care much for this match. Honestly, I think this is when I stepped into the kitchen, I should say, to cook something to eat because I was not interested in this match at all. There's nothing really to be gained by this. No one's trying to gain contendership for a title. There's no real storyline advancement. Ryback's not facing the League of Nations. and Rusev has no reason to fight Ryback other than the fact they're both a couple of meatheads. Ryback I don't care much for. He's boring to me. He is. I mean, when he first debuted and was fighting the jobbers, the guys that were literally like a third of his weight, and just tossing them over the ring, or taking 2 or 3 guys out at a time, just beating the hell out of them. That was entertaining because of the fact that you knew they were jobbers, you knew they were going to get their asses kicked, but you just got to see him get thrown around, and then later on to hear some of the horror stories of him throwing people around, what it actually does to them. It's like, oh, so he's legitimately hurting people because he's too dumb to realize that he needs to exercise caution with his moves. That's great. He is just a meathead. He's not. He comes out there, he talks, tough. The big guy this, the big guy that, and you know what? He sounds like a tough guy, and he probably is to an extent a tough guy. But he's got no brains, and he demonstrates that even when he cuts promos, that he's got nothing up there, and that just kind of deters me from being entertained by him. Rusev, I like when he's making jokes about people. He can be a really funny guy when he wants to be, but lately it's been them pushing this whole engagement to Lana, which is great that they're acknowledging it, that they went and did something that the WWE didn't really like, but now the WWE is embracing it and pushing it into the storyline. So it's cool they're doing that, but it almost seems like they're trying too hard with it, like they're pushing too much with that. So I didn't care much for the match. I give it a C-, and honestly I felt like that was being generous. It was boring. I didn't like it. Like I said, I didn't even watch most of the match. I went and cooked something. Next match on the card was Jack Swagger versus Alberto Del Rio in a chairs match for the United States title. I like what they're doing with Del Rio now that he left that Mex America thing. He openly told everyone on the pre-show it didn't work, and so that's why he dropped it. So he dropped Zev Culture, which is pretty much the blunt way of saying I dropped the whole storyline because it wasn't working. It made no damn sense. Nobody liked it. No one knew how to feel because you had 2 guys that were promoting a good cause, promoting equality, promoting acceptance, promoting an anti-hate message, but you brought them up as bad guys. You brought them up as heels. And then you brought back Jack Swagger, who I like what he's doing now. He's deterred away from the way it was. When Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter were teamed up together, they're basically like racist for the most part, because they were anti-immigrants, and they would have been great spokesmen for Donald Trump in all honesty, because that's exactly what they sounded like. But they came off as racist. So when Jack Swagger, I almost said Zach right for some reason, when Jack Swagger came back, you still had that same feel, that same. I mean, everyone's behind the "We the People" slogan, which is a great thing to unite patriots. It is. It's a very good patriotic thing, and that's what they're turning it into now, which is awesome. But it's just the fact that you had this slogan and this gimmick of "We the People," which was a kind of a racist angle, against an angle that's promoting equality, and yet the people doing equality are the bad guys, and the guy who symbolized racism is the good guy. So this whole thing was backwards. It made no sense whatsoever. So when they dropped Zeb Culture from the equation, dropped the whole Mex America thing, openly saying it didn't work, that was such a good move, because this allows Del Rio to go back to the League of Nations, be in this group, which makes him better, because the Mex America thing drug him down. So by leaving that behind and just being part of the League of Nations, that's elevated him. He's back up to being a great U.S. champion. And with Jack Swagger now, he's just doing the "We the People" thing. It doesn't come off as a racist angle anymore. It comes off as a patriotic angle. Now it's just a matter of him saying, I did this because you disrespected Zeb Culture. You you beat up a guy that I consider a friend and mentor. You know, that type of angle is respectable. That made sense. And then they gave him a chairs match. For me, the chairs match is their way of saying, well, we have ladder matches, we have tables matches, we even have TLC matches. Why not just throw out the chairs? Why not just give the chairs a match? You know, because it's part of the theme. But the thing is, people use steel chairs in virtually every match as it is, and so it kind of loses its flair. It's not that entertaining. There was a point where Jack Swagger was on the floor, and Del Rio piled a bunch of chairs on top of him. And JBL made a comment about back in the ECW days, Terry Funk once got buried under a pile of chairs, which was true. Actually, one of the biggest incidents with ECW, I think it was Terry Funk and Mick Foley were in a tag match against, I want to say Public Enemy. I could be wrong about that. But Terry Funk said, give me a chair. And so, like, back then, the ECW matches were all done with the folding chairs, like, for the audiences, for the audience members. So there wasn't a regular seating. They had set up literally rows of steel chairs so that people could sit and watch the matches. Tons of people started throwing their chairs into the ring because he asked for a chair. And literally, it piled up on top of Terry Funk, I think even on Mick Foley, or maybe Mick Foley got out of the way, but Terry Funk was the main one that got piled on top of. And there was actually a point where I think it was the ring announcer was telling people to stop throwing stuff in the ring. But that's kind of what they were alluding to, and that was kind of a thing that I found a bit humorous, that they brought up that bit of wrestling history during the match. But the match itself wasn't that great. Del Rio won the match, finishing it with his double foot stomp, which is kind of like a more dangerous, in my opinion, version of what Finn Balor does. So Del Rio is still the U.S. champion. So I give the match maybe a C+. It wasn't that entertaining to me. Next was Team ECW versus the Wyatt family in a tables match. Now this was actually pretty entertaining. It had the nostalgia factor of having the ECW originals of Tommy Dreamer, the Dudley Boys, and Rhino. I wasn't surprised that they brought Ryback up from NXT, because I'd seen him wrestling down there, so I knew that he was probably going to be part of their team. I was a little bit surprised that they picked Tommy Dreamer over rehiring Rob Van Dam. I don't know if Rob Van Dam just didn't want to do the TLC pay-per-view, or if they just couldn't get a hold of him, or if they thought, you know, we've been hiring RVD off and on, maybe we should try someone else. I don't know. But supposedly the Dudley Boys were the ones who ended up making the call to Dreamer, inviting him to do this run with them. And it was an entertaining match. It wasn't the best match of the night, but definitely was not the worst. It was definitely way better than Rusev versus Ryback or Swagger versus Del Rio. There really isn't much to be gained with this match. There was no titles at stake. There wasn't much of a storyline to promote. It was more just the Wyatt family needing to get a win, which they ended up winning the match against Team ECW. Which I guess is what the Dudley Boys are going to be doing now, is kind of being jobbers until they get a chance to get their 10th title reign over and done with. They just jobbed these guys. But it was a good match, very entertaining. I like the fact that they were thinking out of the box. I watched another podcast before the pay-per-view of someone saying that they thought that Spike was going to be part of Team ECW, and which would have been cool. It would have made sense because of the whole "We Have Family Too" line that the Dudley Boys threw out there. But I guess Spike Dudley has completely retired from pro wrestling, and it makes sense. As entertaining as he was, he's a small guy. He is not big at all. I mean, he's probably smaller than I am, and I'm 5'8", 230 something. So, this guy's probably smaller than I am, because he reminded me of someone who's about Rey Mysterio's size, and Rey Mysterio I know for a fact is smaller than I am. But he he's a small guy, and he got thrown around a lot. And so I don't blame him for wanting to retire. I don't blame him for not wanting to get into another tables match. But this was still an entertaining match. Like I said, the Wyatt family won, which I figured was probably going to happen because they're going to try to promote them more so they can move them up, try to get them over more. They're already way over, even as being guys that tend to job to part-timers, like The Undertaker. I'm just wondering where they're going forward with the Wyatt family. I would love, and they kind of teased this a little bit on Raw, the Raw before TLC. They had the Wyatt family come out and was talking to the League of Nations, basically saying that they are, I think it was the League of Nations that had said that there are no 4 men better than us, and the Wyatt family came out saying, "Oh, really?" Pretty much just like, "You want to try that again?" And I thought it was really cool. I would love to see the Wyatt family make kind of a face turn to take down like the League of Nations and the Authority, to be this kind of this whole chaotic evil reign in a sense. That would be awesome in my opinion. Yeah, that match I gave a B-2. It was very good. Next match was Dean Ambrose versus Kevin Owens for the Intercontinental title. This is arguably my favorite match of the whole night. Actually, I think I'd give it the highest rating of the entire night. I love Dean Ambrose and I love Kevin Owens, so maybe I'm biased by rating it this way. But I end up looking this over and watching this match very closely. I watched it probably closer than I did most of the mid-card matches, because a couple of those matches I didn't care for. But this match definitely had my attention. I really wanted to see if they would do better than what they did at Survivor Series, because I liked their Survivor Series match, and they didn't disappoint. This match, in my opinion, was actually better than that one. Dean Ambrose got the win and became the new Intercontinental Champion, which was awesome. There's a lot of really cool little subtleties in the match. They kind of cut out one of my favorite parts about Kevin Owens. They didn't like cut it out per se. It's just they're doing a replay when it happened, so you didn't get the full effect of it. But there was a point where Kevin Owens is doing what he is notorious for doing now, where he was saying something to Dean Ambrose, and then he looks over at Michael Cole and says something to Michael Cole, and I think he calls him like an idiot or something like that from the ring. He doesn't even bother getting out of the ring or something. He just yells it at him from the inside of the ring. I think he called him an idiot, and he says, "That's for you, Cole." And then he just goes back to the match. But it was a great match. I really liked it. I give it an A, just a solid A. My match of the night, definitely. So I'm really eager to see how they're going to do that. My guess is they're going to have a rematch. If they don't do it on Raw, they'll definitely have it at the Royal Rumble, and probably lead it into the Royal Rumble match itself. That would be a lot of fun to watch. It's just a little rivalry between Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose, because these two guys are two of the most entertaining guys on the roster as far as solo competitors go. Moving on now is Paige versus Charlotte for the Divas title. I'm glad that the women's division is getting main event status, because this was the second to last match of the night, which is really late in the card for a women's match for a main pay-per-view. They've done main events for NXT pay-per-views, or events, not really pay-per-views per se, but they hadn't been giving very many main event or late card spots to the women's division until recently, and so I was happy to see them get one of the main spots. It was a really good match. I would say it's a little bit better than the Becky Lynch-Sasha Banks match in terms of competition and wrestling goes, but it was still very entertaining. They're playing this unique angle, though, because you've got, on one hand, you've got Charlotte, who's following in her father's footsteps, kind of being a dirty player in the wrestling world. And on the other hand, you've got Paige, who is not really a face character, because she's still trying her own little dirty underhand tactics of her own, trying to be sneaky, trying to blindside Ric Flair and do equally as nasty stuff. It was very entertaining to see, very entertaining to watch. It was just unique because you didn't really have a face character. You had more or less two heel type characters in this match, and then afterwards there was a little bit of aftermath between Charlotte and Becky Lynch, because she's still a face character, and she's just like, I don't see why you're doing this. I don't understand why you're resorting to these tactics rather than winning clean. So that was unique. Charlotte won the match, which means that it means to me that they will probably stretch this out. I think they're going to stretch this one out a little bit longer. They might have Paige wrestle Charlotte one more time at Royal Rumble and then move on. I think Charlotte's going to beat Paige one more time before defending against somebody else. I'm hoping that I would love to see in the main event, in a main event of WrestleMania, see Charlotte versus Sasha Banks. That would be an awesome women's title match. I refuse to call it the Divas title as long as one of them holds it. If someone like one of the Bellas or Alicia Fox or most of the other quote-unquote divas from main roster, if one of them holds it, it's the Divas title. I'm going to call it the women's title if an actual women's wrestler is holding it. So, I was really happy with the match. I loved it. I like that Charlotte's kind of taking after her father in the respect of doing the whole dirty tactics. She even did the Flair stumble. Ric Flair has this trademark thing to where half the time when someone hits him, he's going to take a step forward and just face plants. And then typically he either rolls out of the ring or rolls to the side and gets up to his knees, puts his hands on and goes, no, or something like that. She did that almost perfectly to Paige during that match, and it was great. I loved it. I gave the match an A-. It was really close to getting the same rating as Ambrose and Owens. It was a good match. I'm glad that not only did they choose two women's wrestling matches, they chose two matches that feature actual women's wrestlers. They didn't have any of the Bellas or Alicia Fox. So they actually used actual wrestlers from NXT that have made women's wrestling better, in my opinion. Okay, so let's move on to the main event. It was a TLC match for the world title, Roman Reigns against Sheamus. I didn't follow this match very closely. I give it a B. I'll just start with the rating. I give it a B because it was okay. I wasn't overly interested in it. The fans were definitely not interested in the match at all. And being that they were in Boston, that didn't help, because as is the situation with most of the major cities that they have pay-per-views in, Boston's very vocal, and I thought it was funny that because of where they were at, and because of the fact that they didn't care about this main event, the audience was very vocal about the fact that they did not care about Roman Reigns or Sheamus, because at the beginning of the match, it was very, very clear that you could hear the audience chanting, "We want Cena, Cena sucks." They're cheering for a guy who's on injury, or not really injury leave, he's just on leave, temporary leave, to take a break. Someone said he might be filming a movie or something, I don't know. He could be doing a lot of things, man. He's a busy guy. But I thought it was so funny that they were cheering for this guy who's arguably the main face character for the company, who's just not there at the moment. And they were cheering for him more so than they were cheering for anyone in the match itself. Sheamus won the match, which I wasn't too surprised by, because I think they're going to have... There's a couple different scenarios for how they could do this. But it wasn't a terrible match. I just wasn't that interested in it. Maybe I'm biased. I like Sheamus. I just don't like what they've been doing with him lately. I don't know. He just kind of gotten annoying with the way that he's been going with this whole ridiculous, stupid look that he has with the stupid mohawk. And Roman Reigns, I want to like the guy, but I'm still not there yet. Anyway, the way the match ended, League of Nations got involved. Two of the members of League of Nations. I didn't see King Barrett come out, but maybe he was there where I wasn't paying much attention. I don't know. I definitely saw Del Rio and Rusev come out, and Roman Reigns kind of dealt with them. But Sheamus ended up winning the match and kept keeping the title. But then after the match, Roman Reigns just went apeshit. He went and started beating the hell out of everybody. Beat the hell out of Del Rio, Rusev, Sheamus. He beat the crap out of Sheamus with a chair. Just repeatedly beat him to the point that Triple H and Stephanie came down to stop him. And then he started beating the crap out of Triple H. I mean, he speared him. He tried to powerbomb him through a table. The table didn't break. And he landed like right in the middle of his spine, which made me hurt just by watching that. And then he ended up like driving an elbow or something like that through him while he's on the table, and the table then collapsed. It was really interesting. This is what I think should happen with Roman Reigns. There are three possibilities I could see happening with him between now and WrestleMania. I could see one, him going away, like, let's say they suspend him because it's 6 weeks between now and the Royal Rumble. Let's say they suspend him and he gets reinstated right before the Royal Rumble and gets his rematch or something. I don't know. Maybe they don't even bother suspending him. Maybe they just give him a rematch of the Rumble. And I could see him winning that and then carrying it all the way to WrestleMania. I could see him being suspended and then reinstated later on, or maybe they won't suspend him at all. Basically, putting him into the Rumble itself, and him going to win and challenge at WrestleMania. Or I could see him getting into the Rumble and getting close to the end, and then having the Authority screw him over, and then set up a match between him and Triple H at WrestleMania. That'd be fun. I'd be cool with any of those scenarios. What I want to see from him, what I want to see from Roman Reigns, is I want him to do what he did at the end of TLC. Don't talk, say very few words if you say anything at all, but just show up, beat the crap out of everybody, and then leave. Do that repeatedly. Kind of take the Stone Cold Steve Austin and just beat the crap out of everyone and then just leave. The main difference between Roman Reigns and Steve Austin, though, was that Stone Cold had charisma and he could talk as well as beat the crap out of people. Roman Reigns, he doesn't quite have that charisma yet. He's getting better, slowly, but he is getting better. So he's almost there, just not quite there yet. But yeah, overall the pay-per-view wasn't bad. It was actually, I'd probably give it about B minus maybe overall. It was pretty good. I liked it. The ending was really well done. Probably one of the best ones they've done this year as far as endings go. But yeah, that's what I thought of this pay-per-view. As I mentioned before, I started recording this on Wednesday, but due to some technical difficulties, I wasn't able to finish recording it. So it's now Saturday morning, and I'm just now getting a chance to finish doing the recordings. So I apologize for it being delayed, but I mean, technical difficulties, recording systems being what they are, I couldn't do anything with it. So I apologize for the delay, but hopefully we can get back on the ball and get back rolling with the videos as I had originally planned. So if you like this video, be sure to leave a like, comment on what you thought about the pay-per-view. Be sure to share this video as well, and if you want to see more videos, subscribe to my channel. I did a recap episode on Survivor Series this year as well, so be sure to go check that out. I'll have a link at the end of this video for you guys to see that one as well. So, but in the meantime, this is Kingofclubs saying, see you next time.